but also like do what you're gonna say, because the referral energy that comes after is your measurement stick of like how it went, not while it's happening. Because everyone's excited and they're always gonna have a good time while they're at something, even if they're not having a good time. Like that's what we used to do. We'd go to bad events and we'd have a great time. It's what happens after, and how do you respond to that? Take feedback, do something with it if you get it.
This week, we talked to co-creator of Baby Bathwater, Hollis Carter, which for those that don't know, Baby Bathwater is actually my number one bucket list, which I'm going to in Croatia this year. But it's really a event for entrepreneurs, which some might describe as a mix between a conference, a mastermind, a party, and also a membership. In this episode, we talk about the people being the product when it comes to epic events, what makes an epic event, how to grow and scale world-class events, why Baby Bathwater is so uncommon and different to the other events, how to create an epic team, and also how to create an epic business based around referrals. This episode is an absolute cracker. And as I said, my number one bucket list item, Baby Bathwater, which I'm going to this year. Enjoy. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Momentum Lifestyle Podcast by myself, Blake Worrell-Thompson.
And me, Genoa Van Keekum. Momentum is a men's wellbeing and performance community dedicated to helping men be better.
Each week, we deep dive with your favorite thought leaders and experts from around the world to get their insights to help you be better. Enjoy the episode. Now, guys, before we get started on this week's podcast, I want to talk to you about our Momentum Mastermind. The Mastermind is our 12-month program for men who want to surround themselves with other committed men, all with similar interests, values, and goals. Whether you're looking to build or grow a profitable lifestyle business, develop financial freedom, get in the best shape of your life, or create an intimate and epic relationship, the Mastermind is perfect for those who are looking to have it all. We know that to create these results and this kind of lifestyle on your own can be super challenging. So join now for your free 30-day trial. Simply visit our website, www.themomentumlifestyle.com.au. Up the top, you'll see a section for programs. Click on the programs, you'll see our Mastermind, and you can sign up there now for your free 30-day trial valued at $1,000. We look forward to seeing you part of the Mastermind. Hollis Carter, welcome to the podcast.
Awesome, man. Thanks for having me.
Mate, I'm excited, very excited, and trying to keep a lid on things, to be honest, because the event that I'm coming to, that you and your right-hand man organise, is number one on my bucket list. And it's still 5 months away. So I'm just trying to keep a lid on things. But I'm excited to talk all things Baby Bathwater, how to run a rockstar event, and everything in between. But before we get started, can you give the guys a 60 to 90 second spiel of you and what's got you to where you are today?
Yeah, for sure. And even though 5 months sounds long for you, that just made me like, oh shit, I said 5 months. Yeah, so basically I would say just always has been very entrepreneurial my whole life. I was like the terrible student who was told he wouldn't be able to do things. I was like dyslexic, like every one of the D learning disorders I pretty much had. Couldn't read, couldn't write. Was just school was kind of really tough. So got into some business stuff and entrepreneur things. And like, honestly, I remember my dad giving me a J. Abraham book about how to write roofing letters for my landscaping company. I rewrote them and did this thing. And then like all of my confidence sort of came back when my dad's like, I think you're making more than your teachers now, even though it was like third grade, right? And so I was selling plants, I was mowing lawns, I was cutting trees. I eventually started selling things you're not supposed to sell as a young kid and got in trouble for that, just always doing that. And then internet came along and basically had a handful of internet hustles, which was really more built because I was like super into the outdoors. I was like rafting guide on the weekends and wanted to basically ski and raft and climb and do that all the time. And I found I could do that in the hours. I got to affiliate marketing and copywriting and doing all that stuff, and made just a pretty good cash flow living. And then eventually took the skills of the cash flow living online and made some businesses out of it. The one that sort of pivoted me the most was probably I had a copy of Groupon when that came out. It was like the daily deal site. We made a clone of that. I had a programming team in India I'd built up over the years of doing internet stuff. And basically people could start their own niche daily deal sites and things like that. And we built that up to enough licenses, selling it direct to consumer, sold that business. And then I went sort of turbo into everything that wasn't the internet, because I spent so much time on the internet. I didn't know my customers. You just saw like credit card receipts and things, and that was disconnecting for me. But I kind of built all those businesses by going to live events. So I invested in a ski resort. I built the house at a ski resort and flipped that. So I did kind of, a business investment in an operating business plus real estate kind of at the same time, but didn't realize the learning curve and how much cash all of that would take after my, okay exit, and learned really quick from all of that, but eventually came out of that. And during that process, just started hosting events with my business partner, Michael. And that is Baby Bathwater. Like, it never was actually supposed to be a business. It was just a thing that we wanted to do because we met a bunch of cool people on our startup when we each had publishing business and other direct to consumer businesses that kept us at the same events. And we were like, this is the only way to actually learn rather than courses and books. Like, it was the real stuff, but they all kind of sucked. And like, we almost rallied around the worst of the event, almost the best time we had. Like, it got better every time the event was bad because the people who invested their time and money to be there were in the lobby like, well, I'm going to at least enjoy the people who are here. And we became like professional lobby con people, like, all right, well, let's go somewhere else and let's enjoy conversation and doing that kind of stuff. And so, yeah, our first event was it'll be like 10 years ago in October. It was maybe 50 people. For a few years, we just did 2 events a year and kind of kept growing from there. And now it's turned into a whole thing. But actually really, really enjoy it. I had that entrepreneur ADD, never did anything for more than 3 years max, and going on 10 and can easily go much, much longer with this. So that's my long-winded 60 seconds.
Got it. Baby Bathwater is the event and the business that you run, and the one that, similar to you, I've found a lot of events kind of quite stale. And when people ask me to describe your event, and you've kind of got it on your website, it's like the perfect mix for me. But how would you describe Baby Bathwater and the vision that you had and have for it to an outsider?
Yeah, good question. I guess the one caveat is the vision has been a revisionist vision, where like sometimes when you're in the space, I think it's easy to drink your own Kool-Aid, because when people are in these false environments, they're always like, this is the best. I'm meeting all the people, like it's the best thing. And we try to keep a pretty solid grip on not listening to that, even though it feels good. I'm actually really awkward at getting compliments anyway, so it's not that hard. But the original vision was literally just, how do we put the people together without the bathwater? The baby was the people, the conversations we were having. The bathwater was like sponsors. Everyone who gave content had some pitch at the end that, they were monetizing the audience. We had to go to like crappy towns we didn't want to go to and eat Cisco food, and like we spent all this time being like dialed and working on our life and our business. And then you'd go to this thing to learn, and like it seemed like everything was worse, and it was like just a known sacrifice. At the beginning, it was just tweaking the dials and be like, let's go to a nice place with nice people without the transactional agenda, and let's eat decent food and be outside and go somewhere we would go on vacation, and like just do it that way, and realize that just because you're successful and have a business, you're not like God's gift to the earth. Like we're no better than like I kind of liked the humble people who would laugh and joke about it, and like saw that we're no better than nurses and things like that. We just chose a different path, and a lot of it was getting away from the guru face type people who fill the events and they take the energy up in the room, but like the doers and the behind the scenes people who are sort of allergic to a lot of that. So original vision was actually pretty organic and simple. It's like, I like spending time with those folks. I have some time on my hands. Let's put that together. I had the ski resort I invested in, and so we had a space to do it in. And so at the beginning, we just did 2 of those a year, and it just sort of grew organically. And as we revised it, then sort of the formula the froth kind of came out and became super clear, as it was like the same people coming every time, like, oh, this is gonna grow and become more of like a community than an event. Plus, I quickly learned events is a terrible business model if you don't want stress in your life all the time. That's a whole can of worms of just the model not being smart. But the community business of like having the same people you're nurturing relationships with over time, and you're supporting each other, and there is this overarching sort of vibe that's put on it. There even is like a code of conduct around it and stuff, but that we're actually here to support each other because we're all on this wild journey, and turning thoughts into things and taking risks and doing it. But a lot of it's about like the life behind the business too, and not just that. And just kind of being organically open to it, not coming with like one particular need in mind, and just being open to, being in a cool space with people and seeing where it goes, and removing the transactional nature when you've got the biz dev guy and the sponsor and the speaker with the 5 tags hanging off of his lanyard and stuff like that.
So how has that shifted over the last 10 years? So you obviously speak about, and you've got quite a strong screening process, which is amazing for those that get in. I'm sure they are very appreciative of that. But how's your positioning changed over the last 10 years? If you think about all the mess and all the challenges that's required in those first couple of years to create an event, and I'm sure it's still stressful now, but having kind of run so many, what's the difference between year 1 and year 10 for you?
Oh, yeah. I think it has been refining that we've always known that the people are the product. Like, yes, it's on an island and there's cool stuff to do in live music and all these things, but those are like, it goes back to sales stuff. Those are features. They're not the benefit. The real benefit is the people. And that's how it was. But to the point you hit on with the curation process, like we were just making it up at the beginning. And I would say we did know what people say on a phone and what they say on the internet about themselves is only a partial truth because they're all posturing and putting it out there. But if you spend 4 days in an environment together, especially when there's some people you trust, having conversations with them and stuff, like you figure it out. And so I think it was like less than half of the people who came to an event would we then either invite back or into what we have now with this membership. And so that was like the first 3 or 4 years, that was like the numbers were like, well, I didn't catch that on the phone, or that referral, I can't believe they thought that was a good fit. It wasn't always that they're like bad. It was just maybe not the perfect fit. I think there could be 40 versions of what we have for different pockets that feel good for different people in different stages and different interests. But now it's like, getting harder because the curation's getting better. The process is getting refined. The referrals are getting really good. We do plan to grow slow on purpose, sort of for that reason. I think I was telling you when we were talking earlier, like, if you wanted an easy business model, this isn't it. Like, we have the most friction-filled process to get through it between busy people's schedules, getting on a call. You have to come to an event first. Like, there's just so much friction. But by the time someone makes it through that, it sort of is the perfect customer. And it's not just us. We are the first line of filtering and setting expectations and setting it all up. But it's really now truly our members who are doing the curation and things like that as well.
So for you, and again, there's no right or wrong. It's good that you've got clarity on it. What is the type of person that you're looking for to come to your events? And I'm fortunate to be coming to the Croatia one, which I'm pumped of, and there's a couple others this year. I think, what's the type of person that you are looking for?
That, I think, is the key question that I probably would have. We don't have a salesperson because I'm not good enough to write that out and trust someone to do it. So really, it's a little gut, and I know it. But I was chatting with Michael today, like, I've done thousands of these calls now. Like, I kind of know in the first 5 minutes now, but that wasn't always the case. Just off gut feel. But I'd say the through line, there's like what's in common, there's what's not in common, and both are equally important. What's in common is that they've literally turned thoughts into things probably multiple times. Like, they understand the entrepreneurial game and they like love it. And that's what I can tell on a call. And there's really no other way to get it out, because people could write, yes, I love entrepreneurship and I listen to podcasts or whatever. When I get on a flight with someone and I want to sleep, and then I sit next to another entrepreneur doing stuff, and all of a sudden we talk the whole time and it landed about God knows what, that's when I kind of know. And that happens on the interview calls. And, they know what it's like to have to make payroll. They know what it's like to have to like learn 20 hats in a business and then now hit a scaling side, and, their sales blow up, but now like supply chain issues or whatever it is, like, they know it's never figured out. And that's sort of what we've tuned our ear to hear. Because when some people are on their first ride, they just think they got it all figured out. Or if they have something to sell, they act like they have it all figured out. So it's like a bit of that knowledge that the ride's always a mess, but they enjoy that ride in the game. And they need to kind of be at the grow and scale side of it, where the cost and the time to be there aren't like a financial and a time stretch that it shouldn't be used for something else. Like I did have a call today, and I'm like, after talking to you, I think your time and money would probably be better used like buying product to sell versus coming to this. So I want it to be that where they can come home and they have a team or their system set up where they could do something with the idea. Like the last thing I want is a customer who stretches it because it looks like a fun networking opportunity, and then they get behind on their business and they could have used that to hire a key employee. Those are kind of the two main things. Like they enjoy the game, they've played it long enough that they know it's always a mess, and then they're in the right time and financial position to do it. What I actually look for the most is like this pendulum that we're always watching to keep diversity in the group. Because what I noticed when I was in masterminds within my own niche and things like that, there is like posturing. They don't always share all their secrets. There's a whole thing that happens, but I kind of want to be like a gumbo with a lot of ingredients. And that's why people in different geographic locations, people in different industries. And we've had times where like, oh my gosh, we have way too many people in health and wellness and e-commerce, or oh, now we have too many people who have services or have brands or in real estate. So we're always kind of trying to keep it diverse. So we don't have like exact numbers we stick to, but there's a good feel of that so that you can also learn from people. Like, I actually watched a guy who owns sustainable ranches, manages buffalo and horses, teach his hiring process to someone who has a completely virtual service-based business, which is completely different, but they actually had the coolest exchange. And that's more why the uncommon part is also really important. Because at the end of the day, once you're at a stage, it's all managing people and relationships, managing your time and managing financial stuff. And then the underlying thing that everyone's interested in is like themselves, their health, their, mental health, how they're managing family. That's what's actually started to become even more prevalent as like the bigger topic that's the driving factor behind all of it.
When it comes to your event, say Croatia as an example, or one of your other ones, how would you best describe the differences between your type of event and, your average kind of business event or your networking event? What are some of the differences that people might see and experience?
Yeah, and for the bigger ones like Croatia, which is usually someone's first experience before they go to something smaller, which we've now got different, I call them like prescriptions throughout the year. It's like, this is where we want to meet people and expand. This is where we want to go deep and small. I'd say the biggest thing is like, we are not the guru leaders, and we don't have the speaker, like people who are on YouTube with talks and books and courses and things like that. The event itself and the content, like everyone is there with the same purpose and they all have something to give. So, if you look at what's different about the content side, we have way more that are panels that I actually prefer when there's people with conflicting points of view about the same subject and they're in small groups having like moderated conversations about it, whether it's about a business or personal topic. That for me is what's unique about a live event than something where you're just taking notes and watching slides, because that I can learn that online. But I learn more from sometimes the questions coming from the crowd and people getting into it, and we make people choose. So, there'll be 3 different things going at the exact same time during the event. So it's only going to be people who are like, have something to give or are truly interested in it, versus like, oh, well, I paid to be here, so I should go to every session. The others, we don't make anyone go to any of that, because they may decide, oh my gosh, I'm in the best conversation I've ever had about this with 3 people sitting at a table drinking Aperol spritzes or whatever, or I'm on a paddleboard or a sailboat or whatever. I'm going to skip it because that's what feels right to me right now. And I do want people who are adult enough to know how to use their time. And like when someone signs up, sometimes it's months away from when it actually happens, and they're going to know in real time what they need. Like they may have just had a kid and done a raise or whatever, and they're like, I'm going to sleep in and get massages, and I'm going to have some conversations because I need a recharge and I need that. And so I want to be able to deliver that. But I also want to deliver for the person who's like fully recharged already and is coming to like focus and work on a project. And so they can just pick it and choose their adventure as they see fit, versus how we prescribe in a simple system. It's more broad and they can figure it out on their own. And we can obviously give direction and help, and we make sure they meet the right people, but the right adults, they don't want to be told, go to this and be chased around. They want to look at a menu of options and choose what they're feeling for that day.
When I look at a lot of the people that have gone to your events, and again, it's only the people that I know or know of through kind of, online or social media, whatever, I guess it's almost at times it feels like a more relaxed version of the entrepreneurship and events in terms of, for me, having been to events, they feel quite rigid and stiff. And, when I look at yours, it's almost like this, and I can't remember the exact words that you use on your website, but part party, part networking, part adventure, part community, and it's got the real almost undertone of how I like to do business and this changing, I think, kind of landscape of how business is done. And to come back to your point earlier of real legit connection as opposed to, again, the methodical, stiff, kind of rigid business. Is there language around that? And is there anything that I've missed in terms of how one would describe Baby Bathwater?
No, I think it's good. And honestly, how you see a different color yellow than I see a different color yellow, or whatever. We all have our own perceptions of things. I am positive if you ask 10 different people what it is, going to be completely different for all of them based on how they navigated it. Because they had different things in mind. And I've seen the same person navigate it differently, different times coming based on where they're at in their life. And so, not to dodge it, but it's really up to the person to have the experience they need. That's by design versus the rigidity that they're used to of okay, I signed up for this workshop. This guy has the answers. I'm going to follow these steps. It's there's a bunch of people with a bunch of answers, but I don't believe anyone should be following any one person's plan. I think they should be listening for patterns and stories. And what I like to hear back from people on the business side is I just saved 10 years by this one story. We had a conversation. I didn't know it was even going to happen. And all of a sudden now that there was a move I was thinking of making, there's no way I'm doing it, or I know the guy to do it with or whatever. Those are exciting, but then there's all these other personal things that come up from just organic conversations. And to your point, I think it's from, we kind of ask you to come out of the business costume. On the island, everyone's in their swimsuit 90% of the time, taking dips in the sea in between content and conversations. And so the environment and the overall energy sort of takes that rigidity away. And I heard it on some testimonials I was listening to from the last event. There's I've never been able to go deep so fast because we're not being forced to. No one's actually, you're not at Tony Robbins where they're go deep now. It's your 15-minute break. Here's something to prime you. Now go deep. You just kind of naturally do it when you're around people who are relaxed, all their needs are taken care of, and they're having conversations that are organically rolling there. And it's only now that I have full confidence in when I meet the right person. I'm 100%, you'll get what you need. I trust the product now. Back to curation. Before, it wasn't always that way. This last event we did, I had 3 or 4 people who are family friends who have businesses, and I'm I don't know if I want to mix. What if you don't like it? Blah, blah, blah. But now it was slam dunk, no question. This will save you time, money, energy, and you'll get recharged from it. But it took time to figure it out because it is a bit more, I don't know, organic and less rigid. There's systems and structures behind it, but they're all very light. Example would be, instead of speed dating dinner things you might find at a business event where it's sit next to this person. We'll spend 2 days in the office with everyone who's coming, thinking of some matching recommendations. And people who are new may or may not know, but they have a different bracelet on so that the members who've been a bunch make sure that they're never feeling out of place. Things like that, really small stuff to drive it that doesn't feel forced and rigid. Because as I mentioned before, I hated school and I want nothing to feel, like going back to grade school.
And to speak to the kind of fluidity that Baby Bathwater at least gives me, again, kind of coming back to your piece around perception, is it feels I know the word holistic gets kind of thrashed over the last decade, but it feels more a whole and holistic approach to building relationships. So as you kind of said, it might be navigating kids and a new business. And there's a real sense, at least as an outsider, and I'm looking forward to kind of seeing how this unfolds. There's a sense that it's beyond business as well, and sincere and genuine friendships, relationships, connections that might be business related or might just be friendship related when you leave the event. Is that a piece that you were kind of trying to create as well when you started out?
So honestly, when we started out, we just kind of wanted to build the business event we wanted to go to because we didn't like them, but they were always so valuable. And we didn't know what we were going to do next for business. It was supposed to be like a bridge, not the business. And then we hired people to help us. And then we were putting deposits out for years. So like the business sort of happened to us. But you nailed where it is now. And not anything we intentionally did. It just also sort of formed, like, especially at the beginning, I think the crowd we were attracting was still so growing the initial part of the business. They weren't at the grow and scale, they were at the grow part for the first 4 years. And then it's evolved into that. I would say 90% of the people come in for some logical business reason. If they read the site or hear it from a friend or whatever. But then like within a few hours, they're like, oh, never mind. I'm here for a different reason. Because there's a whole bunch of, like, I'm the engine behind the business. And there's a bunch of relationships, conversations, and things that happen that they find more valuable. But it's actually more of a pride thing for us to market making your new best friends. Doesn't sound like as logical for someone to go tell their business partner or wife or husband or whatever that I'm going to meet friends, right? Although we've had, I think, like 5 marriages, tons of people have moved because of it. Like those kind of things they've happened and they've transpired on their own. But it's because I believe the crowd now has kind of gone down a journey and we're attracting people who are meeting us at that stage where it's more like, how are they creating wealth from the business that they have so that their family can have less stress? Like I've noticed it by content turnout, because we do have multiple stages where sometimes if it's more the peak performance stuff, whether it's mental and physical health things or oddly like crazy subject that I never would have come up with, but we had someone attend who does it, which is taking care of your parents when they start to get an older age, need nursing care, whatever. Like we never thought that would be a business subject we'd have at Baby Bathwater. And this one lady's like, I have a business that helps with it. I'm happy to give. We send a survey to our members, like everybody was like, this is a huge deal for us. And she helped them figure out how to do also some tax planning so it can be beneficial for your business. I was like, oh, I like this because it shows everyone really is caring, nice people. And they have enough profit from their business that they're like, how do I use this in that kind of manner? And we end up having to do like cancel the next content to keep that one rolling and go into the next one. Because there's a bunch of people who actually were like, oh, I'd love to plan for that so that I could be a supportive, kid for my parents. Because my business, I was like, oh, and there was an amazing like Facebook ad one going at the same time, but no one went to it because that was going on.
I would not have picked that either. What when you think about years 1 to year 10, and say we're talking to someone who's looking to, start an event or create a event style business, what would be the key things that you would have them consider when it comes to running an event style business?
One, if you want like a predictable, profitable thing, probably there's better ways to do it. Like I had a publishing company, a software company, those had scale, margin, whatever, but I didn't really like it. I love the event side. Like I think nailing a niche to do really well with, like this is something that I'm even hounding now that we're kind of going through a different stage of like making sure you know your customer you want to serve, because the broad thing just gets this predictable sort of like when you have to serve too many people, everything gets watered down. Like even though diversity is something we want, but that's like an industry and where you live, not the personality types and what they do. Like that helps you create a vision of something that's truly valuable. And also to keep in mind that it's not about the money they're spending. Like the time is always the biggest investment. So like what will make them time after time leave their business, their family, their life, like whatever. And like getting that vote is not something to be taken lightly. Like that's a pretty big deal. I've had so many times I'm like, oh my gosh, it's not going to fill up and I paid for everything up front. Like it always does. Or at least it has for me. And I had some event businesses before, and like there's the last minute rush, there's the things I always have tried to avoid doing, the sales tricks of the pre-releases and the stuff that like smart people know are bullshit anyway.
Yeah,
but it's like it will come, the date will come no matter what, and the people are going to go there. Huge lesson for COVID. I think I have like millions of these, but read the insurance, and if it doesn't cost too much, check the box and do it. Pandemic, there was a $120 box that we could have checked for our deposits. I think we lost about $2 million in event deposits, where we could have, checked a very simple box and got it. And then I think like team is everything. So like know what your role is if you're running an event business, and know that there's a lot of stuff that goes into it, from the communication leading up to the event, the communication during the event, like energy management is just freaking huge. And so figuring out a team, and a lot of people, like if you're just starting out, like we'll do this stuff for very little to be a part of something. And then when you find the pros, you hire them and you handcuff them to you. But yeah, like we have some amazing staff that just works the island event, lives in Europe, and works for this big crazy yacht party company. And they're just like, your event's a breath of fresh air for us. We'll work all day and night to be able to come. So like those are like some notes on it. I could probably rip on that for a very long time, because it's like never ending and it's very nuanced. But also like do what you're gonna say, because the referral energy that comes after is your measurement stick of like how it went, not while it's happening. Because everyone's excited and they're always gonna have a good time while they're at something, even if they're not having a good time. Like that's what we used to do. We'd go to bad events and we'd have a great time. It's what happens after, and how do you respond to that? Take feedback, do something with it if you get it. Like if you're gonna do all inclusive, actually do that. If you're not, like don't, and leave some room for surprises, for people. Don't just sell all the features, like have some cool stuff to get people excited about, and just don't take your eye off the ball, because there's just distractions left and right. Oh, we should have music, we should have this, we should do that. And it's like, use the resources that you have correctly. I feel like places like going to Vegas and Dubai, where they have these like conference churn and burn systems, they just eat up your whole budget, where you can go other places and work with independent small businesses and like do a really good job with just a little more creativity and work to be unpredictable.
And for those that are considering potentially one of your events this year, can you give a little insight into what might be happening, whether it's Croatia? I'm not sure what other small events you've got, but what could people potentially expect at Croatia?
Yeah, and Croatia would be the best one for 2020. That's kind of like our big event, which is small for a conference, but big for a mastermind, if you were to look at it that way. But yeah, so 5 days, we've rented a private island in Croatia. It's our 5th year doing it, and it was once again just I wanted to do something hard, and it's hard and it's fun, but going back to your tips, transportation is always weird. We always do all inclusive and there's tons of transport. I was like, once we get them to an island, they can't leave. We're not going to be moving around on buses. So it's like transportation day is crazy, because people fly into Split, we get them to the boat, we get them on the island, and then we have them there. But this beautiful island, and there's kind of stuff to do like 24/7 the whole time, I guess 24/5. We have live music until the wee hours of the night. And then we also have wellness starting at that same time. So sometimes the same people who are up partying and listening to music all night will be passing those going to Qigong in the morning. And then you'll see them like flip-flop the next day. That part's really cool. But, going back to, I guess, the whole conversation, it is about the people. So like if someone listened to that and they're like, oh, I'm in that grow and scale sort of position, and I'm wanting to meet some more peers, then it's just the easiest canvas I've found for us to paint what we want to do on it, and make that happen. Like that part, it just happens so organically as everyone maneuvers around the space. And so yeah, excited to be people who are international. There'll be people from the States and many different industries. And it's just a really good time that's irreplaceable, and it delivers on something that's pretty unique. And like kind of what I really enjoy when I listen to, we don't do like forced testimonials, but we actually leave these little phones all over the island that people can pick up and just ramble on. And I love listening to them, because usually there's like something someone wants to share, and sometimes it's hilarious and it's a group of people, sometimes it's one person. But I keep hearing the pattern of, once I got out of like school and I didn't have these like structured ways to meet peers, like you had sports and you had all kinds of ways to do it when you're younger. As you get older, you just don't have those peer networks in the same way. And if they do exist, sometimes they're forced and weird and rigid. And they're like, I finally found a thing like that. And I didn't realize, like, I just needed that juice. Like I needed someone I could call. We do kind of have an expectation. You pick up people's calls who are in this group and you help them out no matter what. And, with what we can. And it is funny. It is just like a group of people we want to grow old with and go down the journey with. And that's really just the main reason we do all the work of the event side, is like kind of watching that happen. And yeah, Croatia should be a wonderful event. We have, some space on that one where usually we don't, because they're usually smaller events for the members and stuff. And that's really our only one this year at the time. If people are interested, they go to the site and apply. And, we have someone who does a little research on them or whatever. And then we don't have salespeople. It's either myself or my co-founder who does the call and just try to figure out if it works.
Unreal. And if people want to find out more about you, Croatia, upcoming events, where's the best spot for them to track you guys down?
Yeah, just babybathwater.com. You can go to this contact page, application on there if you're interested in that. And then Instagram, I have it's at Hollis C, if someone shoot a personal message or whatever there. Yeah, we're excited. You got me all like, oh crap, it's 5 months away. And I have 4 small events before that and a bunch of things going on. So I am excited. It's coming together fast. So I had 6 calls today that, are people who I just, was going back to how those calls go. Sometimes they'll go, I had 30 minutes blocked for 2 of them and they went on for an hour and a half and I'm texting the next one. I can't stop the flow. So I'm not gonna, and that's a good sign of what I think people will have when they sit at coffee or go grab a paddleboard or do what they do on the island.
Mate, very much looking forward to it and looking to keep a lid on things until then, because it's far away for me, but not so far away for you. But mate, thanks for jumping on the potty and sharing all your expertise.
Yeah, thank you so much. It's a pleasure and I can't wait to hang on the island in real life.